In this lesson, we're going to set up the Cypress dev environment in order to make learning Cypress as easy as possible. To get started, check out the O2 Cypress dev environment branch. If you're using VSCode and you used npm install to install Cypress, then you already have Intellisense set up. The reason this works is because of what VSCode calls automatic type acquisition, and this can work in one of two ways. The most common way is to use this // directive, which describes which types are defined in this file. The // directive isn't limited to VSCode and works in any editor that uses Intellisense. If we want to prove that the // directive is what's loading this up for us, we can comment it out. Once we save it and hover over cy.visit, it has no idea where the type definitions are found. Let's dive in a little deeper to see where these come from. So let's comment that back in, hover over, click Go to Definition, and see this index.d.ts file, which we can see is located in this directory under the Node Modules folder under Cypress types index.d.ts. We can also see this in the sidebar. So what would happen if we moved this file from Node Modules, Cypress, types, index.d to the root of our project? Will the Intellisense still work? We reopen our editor and see that the file we opened before has been deleted from the disk because we moved it to the project root. If we reopen and look this up, Intellisense is still working. So let's go to definition and see what happens now. So VSCode is still able to find the TypeScript definition file, and as I look at it, I can tell that this is installed in my global Node Modules folder, which means that VSCode is able to resolve either a global installation of Cypress or a local installation of Cypress to give us these TypeScript definitions. Now that we've learned where the file comes from, let's go ahead and move this back to our Node Modules Cypress types folder. In many editors, the // directive is the only way we can find type information for our Cypress files. However, in VS Code, we have a global way to look these up. So we'll comment this out, and we know that this means the // directive is no longer going to be used. Now, let's create a tsconfig.json file in the root of the Cypress directory. If you visit the Cypress docs located in the show notes, you can copy this tsconfig and paste it in. Now that we've configured the tsconfig, we can still look up the cy.visit method even without our // directive. There's just one more config file that we're going to want to add to the root of our project. Cypress itself accepts a lot of different configuration options. For instance, we can configure what the root URL is of our project. So if we close this out, go into our project root, and add a new file called cypress.json, we can configure this here. We can add base URL, for instance, HTTP localhost 5000, which is the root of our project. VS Code can even be configured to tell us which options are accepted by the cypress.json file, or if we hover over, to tell us a little bit more about what option we're configuring. To configure this, we can go to the user settings, under json.schemas, edit in settings.json, and we can see that I've already configured my editor here to do this. This is another configuration that's available on the Cypress documentation and is included in the show notes.